Where there is no vision, says Proverbs, the people perish. And where there is vision without resource, they don't perish, they prevaricate. And that, it seems, is the strange shuffling dance at the heart of Rachel Reeves' first major spending review. This was a performance of optimism, laced with resignation, a showcase of ambition, albeit one strapped to the mast of limited fiscal reality and limited fiscal opportunity. If the autumn budget was the season of hope, this bluntly was the season of very expensive window dressing. She came out to the Commons with a claim to renew Britain, but she did so with the same threadbare fiscal envelope that has haunted her predecessors. The speech was packed with grand pledges, billions here for social housing, billions there for defence and health, yet behind the announcement lies a brutal arithmetic, and it's about phases. The phase one, generosity, was largely last year's business already priced in. What Reeves calls phase two, covering the rest of this parliament, is where the challenge lies, and here, despite the lofty rhetoric, the cupboard's rather bare. And the headline figure is a 2.3% annual rise in real terms departmental spending. But when you strip out health, defence and the capital investment headlines, you find that most departments are being asked to do more with less. And look at the eye-catching promises: £30 billion for more for the NHS, 13,000 new neighbourhood police officers, £39 billion for social housing, a fourfold rise in transport grants outside London, £14 billion for nuclear infrastructure, and £86 billion capital spending spree over 4 years. It sounds transformative only if you ignore the realities beneath, that £30 billion for the NHS brings us to a funding level below its long-term average increase. And Reeves still somehow hopes to clear waiting lists within the same parliament. That's not just ambitious, that's farcical and fantastic. The police uplift comes after over a decade of cuts that haven't been reversed in real terms. As for asylum hotels, a perennial bugbear, Reeves promises their end, yet the number of asylum seekers in hotels has actually risen since Labour came to power. Meanwhile, the Home Office, the Environmental Department and DEFRA will face real-term cuts. The Department for Education will see spending frozen in per-pupil terms once you strip out ring-fenced free school meal expansions. Culture, media and sport, outright budget cuts. Overseas aid slashed by 40%. Reeves can afford this semblance of largesse only because she's changed the rules of the game. Her revised fiscal rules separate day-to-day spending from investment, allowing her to borrow more for capital, railways, prisons, climate infrastructure, and this creates the appearance of activity, cranes on the skyline, contracts in the inbox, without showing up immediately in current expenditure figures. But all this borrowing carries a cost. The UK's debt interest bill is £105 billion a year. Her plan adds £140 billion in new borrowing. That's a long way from pain-free. More troublingly, this review lacked detail on how the expenditure will be delivered. There was a confident nod to avoid project overruns, which I suppose is a sort of positive, but there's very little evidence that lessons have been learnt from HS2, the smart motorway debacle, or the social care white papers that never materialised. So where does this leave us? With more ambition than ammunition, with announcements that sound expensive but conceal contraction, with a Chancellor whose credibility is staked on delivery, yet whose budget suggests delay. Rachel Reeves in many ways has inherited a poisoned chalice. Yeah, of course, years of underinvestment and fiscal mismanagement left the shelves empty. But this spending review, she's promised not only to restock the pantry, but also to cater a banquet. It is, frankly, a review full of numbers but light on substance, a speech heavy on aspiration and lean on sustainable growth. She ran out of money in the autumn, and now she's run out of room, and the prayer is that the public won't notice until the general election is over. Well, that's another 4 years. She got 4 years of hanging on with her fingertips. The hope is that the bond markets won't notice at all. But hope isn't a strategy, as Liz Truss found out, and prayers don't pay. for public services. So this is not a return to austerity, but nor is it the end of austerity. We are caught in a holding pattern, circling above fiscal constraint, waiting for a runway that may never appear, that hasn't even been built. That's the problem.